So I think we always have exciting guests and also subject matters. But today we wanted to talk about something that I feel that we should, and that's African American and life insurance. So today we have our guest. It's Ron Harrell, a native of Virginia Beach. Virginia, has resided in Washington, D.C. since 1972. And is a graduate of Paul Laurence Dunbar class of 1984 and attended Virginia State University. He's the father of two wonderful sons, AJ and Hunter. And Ron started in the insurance business in 1991 as an advisor to federal and District of Columbia employees in the area of insurance protection and employment retirement savings. In 2004, he founded and incorporated the Herald Group Inc., THG, a financial services company focusing on the financial and insurance needs of individual families, businesses, and churches. And really, he did this to help them plan, build, and protect their assets. Today, Ron is a respected advisor and as an asset protection and tax advantage retirement solution to over 2,000 clients. And we are happy to have him today. And so, Mr. Ron Harrell, thank you for taking the time to be with us. I know you're booked every single day, all day long. And we thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you this evening.
Hello, Reverend Sue, and thank you. And thank you for the invite.
Yeah, and it's one thing that I would like to, when I was, Mr. Harrell, you know what, when I was a young person in the South, we had this man to come to our house. I don't know whether it was once a week, seemed like it was once a week, perhaps it was once a month. And we call him the insurance man because would not experience what the woman doing. So we always had the knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and this insurance man. And I never experienced a Black insurance man. I've always experienced a white insurance man coming into the Black community. And as I got older, I realized that some of the things that were taking place as far as the policies that they had were absolutely unnecessary. And almost from the standpoint of, I call it insurance discrimination based on race. So we wanted to talk to you as an expert, and as expert in the life insurance business, that how you started out, and not how you started, but why you got into the insurance business. Was that a part of the history of our life as far as African American? I know you don't just have African American members. However, did that have something to do with your excitement of doing life insurance?
Well, when I first started out, I was recruited into an organization, and they talked about changing your life and reaching your dreams and goals. But from that, it became a passion of mine. That I really made a difference in people's lives. I recall my mentor telling me then, a guy named Charles Scott, that you don't know what you're doing until you deliver your first death payment. And when that happened, I realized, the influence that I had on a family, how well the family lived, things that they were prepared for, things that they were not prepared for. And from that, it just fed my passion for it.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you said you were in Washington, D.C., so you dealt with, in Washington, D.C., still the federal agencies of the country. Your profile consists of federal government as well as the District of Columbia, right?
Yes.
What I've heard, and so many people just did not do their homework or did not do their business when it came to life insurance, is that they found out later, especially federal employees, they did not have as much life insurance they thought they had when they retired from the government or while they was working in the government. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the federal government has a pretty good insurance plan if you participate in it, but it is a term plan. It does start to decrease think it's around about age 65.
Mhm,
And it decreases down to about 75, 80% of its value. Um,
mhm,
and that's at a point when people have gotten older. So the cost of insurance is much more expensive. And,
mhm,
sometimes we have brought on health conditions that may or may not qualify us for additional insurance.
mhm.
Um,
So basically, when we think that we are building, say for instance, life insurance as a method of wealth building, we were totally offline when it came to life insurance. We didn't study it perhaps, or we didn't have people like you to explain to us what we was really getting into. So when death happens, they realize that they did not have anything to do with death building for our family, for our children, for our grandchildren. And so what was the average face value of insurance sold to African American? I'm going back and forth, back to African American, way back when, and then African American before you got involved in life insurance. What was the
well,
average?
when I can tell you this, I mean, as you mentioned, I grew up in Virginia Beach. I stayed with my grandmother. This is back in the early 70s. I remember a white guy used to come to her house, pick up the insurance premiums. Um, and she had insurance on everyone. She had a $500 policy, $1,000 policy. I mean, she didn't have very few. I think she may have had a $5,000 policy on herself.
Mhm,
Um, but you know, they were very small policies. I mean, and what we call today nickel and dime policies
mhm,
that they, sort of sold to black people, and not just black people, people that were in a certain economic class. They stole them those policies. I mean, unfortunately, the greater population were black people. They weren't talking to them about wealth accumulation. That they were just talking to them
mhm,
about having a simple death benefit policy. Um, and what happened is that those policies did not keep up with inflation. So sometimes if a person lived for 15 to 20 years, you
mhm,
still had to
mhm.
come up with extra money to pay for the funeral.
And just did not, and they said at that point, did not have funds to do that. And then way back when, doing, um, the insurance companies provided slaveholders coverage for damage to a death of their slaves at rates substantially higher than for white lives, and impose certain coverage restriction. That was amazing to me that they actually had policies for their slaves. And so looking at our population today, Mr. Harris, that it all started out with educating. It's still educating, 2022, educating us about life insurance, and still making great mistakes now, and not realizing that they need to have people like you and others to be honest about what they're doing and getting, and then to read for themselves and do research in reference to that. So we have 70 million people, 60 elderly people here, and we have 70 plus 28 million millennials. With that in mind, have you started educating our young people as they age, before their health get bad, before all these things happen, to really focus on life insurance, or just to focus on perhaps investing in real estate, investing in stocks, because it's not necessarily you need the life insurance. That's just my statement. What do you feel about that?
I think life insurance should be your foundation, um, because as you're as you're doing these other things, life insurance provides an immediate income for your surviving family if you have a
Mhm,
family. Okay, um, life insurance provides an immediate income for protecting your assets. And for the cost, which is pennies on the dollar, I think that should be your foundation. And I think you should build everything else in addition to that. I think you should invest in equities. I think you should invest in your 401ks. I think you should invest in all those things. But as a base, as a foundation, I think you should have life insurance. And life insurance has changed so much over the years. Today is not just a death benefit. Today, you have living benefits built inside that policy, which can pay for a critical illness, okay? If you have a stroke, a heart attack, a cancer, a brain aneurysm, anything critical happens to you, you can tap into the face amount of that policy, up to normally about 75%. So if you have a $100,000 policy, you can tap into that policy. If you get cancer, I mean, look how many people get cancer. I mean, I think the numbers are somewhere like 1 out of 12 or 1 out of 10, somebody's gonna get cancer. Imagine if you can tap into a $100,000 policy to help to pay the bills, whereby you don't have to worry about how your mortgage is going to be paid, or how you gonna put food on the table. You can focus on healing. So it provides that living benefit. In addition to that, it provides a chronic illness. Means that if you can't do 2 of the 5 ADLs, ADLs are activities of daily living. There are 5 of those. If you can't do 2 of those, okay, if you can't feed yourself or bathe yourself or get in and out of bed or use the bathroom or dress yourself, if you can't do 2 of those, you're gonna need some help. You will have the monies to pay somebody to come in there and help you. At least your family will have that money. Most people are not prepared for those sort of things. So life insurance, to me, is a great foundation that people should have, and build everything else upon that foundation.
Thank you. This is Black History Month, and I have to also add that when you said we have more than just a burial policy now, but way back when, years ago, Black could only have a burial policy. And just for some people listening now, we could only have death policy. I mean, burial policy. That was it. That day, the companies did not give us the life insurance policy, but burial policy. So today we do have the opportunity to have life insurance. When is the best time to buy insurance, the life insurance?
When you're young and healthy.
Thank you. And that, I mean, will you please say that again? When you're young and healthy, that's the best time to buy life insurance.
Well, that's when life insurance is going to be less expensive. When you're young and healthy. Life insurance is based on age. The first question I ask you is, how old are you? The second question I ask you is about your health.
So I want to go back to this. What is the difference between whole life and term life?
Whole life, you're going to pay for pretty much all of your life, okay? It's going to build cash value that you can use the equity inside that policy to pay for retirement, help with the child's education, for emergency needs. I mean, basically for whatever you want to use it for. Now, term is just what it says. Term is for a particular term. Once that term ends, you have to renew that policy. Now, you're only allowed to renew that policy up to a certain point before it becomes an annual renewable term, which can be very expensive, okay? And term insurance is fine if you have your base. I think your base should always be permanent insurance, okay? As a base, I think you should add term insurance as needed. So, if you have a base of $100,000 and you need, because you got kids, because you have a house, and the kids are still young, and you have a $250,000 mortgage, yeah, I think you should add another $750,000 in term insurance. So maybe another $900,000 in term insurance to give you $1 million. If that's your need. But again, you want to have that base, because once that term runs out, you're going to be older. That insurance is going to cost more. So you don't want to try to buy a whole life insurance, when you're 60, 70, 80 years old. It's pretty expensive.
We can almost forget it. I mean, not saying you can't do it, because you would definitely sit down and talk to an 80-year-old person. However,
People buy
That's
it
what
every day, unfortunately, but they just don't buy a lot of it.
yes, they don't buy a lot of it. And it's not, and the person can be very healthy, but just because of the age, the expectation, you know, not gonna be living in 200 years. Okay, so what you're saying, like what you just said, is that one is not better than the other as far as term in life insurance, or is one better than the other? And that depends.
I
Well,
mean,
it depends on the circumstances of the insured.
right. But I am pro permanent life. Okay. Um,
Okay.
I, I believe that you should have a permanent life policy, and I think you should supplement that permanent life with term insurance.
Okay.
That's a concept
So,
that I often use.
so you're the broker. What is that? What is the advantage for your clients? Is it that you are a broker, or as opposed to being an agent?
Well, I'm a broker, and basically what that means is that I work for different companies. I work for my client. Okay, I try to find the best deal possible for my client.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not committed to any one company. You know what I mean? So in other words, I don't try to make the shoe fit. I fit the shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I try to tailor a policy to my client's needs. Whereas if I'm just working for one company, I'm just an agent with one company, then that's sort of hard to do, because every policy is not going to be a cookie cutter policy.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to tailor policy to meet my client's needs, and I have enough companies that I can do that with.
Mm-hmm. And that's the advantage of, well, actually working with you, or working with some of your agents as well,
Yes.
as
Yes.
a great a broker. Going back again from years and years and years ago, where we had the insurance man knocking on the door, and most of the people who had insurance actually had insurance through those insurance men. And basically we did not know, meaning my parents or their parents did not know exactly what they was getting. Some people did, but a lot of them did not. And so when death came, they thought perhaps they were having more, but they did not have more. Back in a while back, in African American insurance company was like 1810 through 1813, and was created as the first African American insurance company in 1810. The office was actually located in Philadelphia, and I think the first president was Joseph Randolph. Okay, from that time, 1810, to now, 2022, and looking at African American, people like you have made a difference in so many people's lives, because now you can go on the internet, now you can read, now you can get people like Ron Hero to help you really invest in a good policy. One of the main reasons that I ask you to come on our show is because I, as a child, got tired of looking at the insurance man, deciding what Black people needed. So with that, what are some of the critical things that when you realize that you don't have life insurance, so you say, oh my goodness, the pandemic has come, we've lost so many relatives, and prior to the pandemic, when it comes to death, and then that question comes in your mind because you see family members arguing, you see family members trying to go on funding, you see family members begging, really almost begging for money to bury their relatives. What are some of the important things that you can tell us today, that what we really should be, what we should do in reference to life insurance? Where should we go? Don't panic, but what should we do? Knowing now that, wow, I don't have life insurance, what can I do?
Well, the first thing I always say that you can do, you can always call me. But in addition to that, what you want to do, check on your job first. Make sure that your job is providing you life insurance. It's going to be the least expensive, because it's a group policy. Make sure that you understand what you have. Now, when you have insurance on the job, understand that that's term insurance, okay? 90% of the time, that's going to be a term insurance policy. That basically means that when you leave that job, you're no longer covered. Okay, so I'm a big advocate of you having your own insurance. Okay, and the insurance on the job is going to limit you to how much you're going to get. Normally, it's based is either 100% of your salary or some percentage of your salary. Okay, but I suggest that you do get life insurance, and a lot of times the question is asked to me, well, how much insurance should I get? And I've been saying the same thing for 30 years. Get an amount that you can afford every month. Okay, that is the
Mhm.
most important thing. Get an amount that you can afford every single month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And some people actually look at, well, I'm going to make sure that I will have my children or my relative responsible for burying me. And I think what I found out, they forget one just about $3,000 or $4,000 now is the um, looking at when they prepare you for the burial. You have to open and close the ground, and that price goes up every year. And so many people forget that cost when they have their pennies and looking at and adding how much would it cost for to be buried. Also, cremation have gone up tremendously. More people are being cremated now. That cost has gone up. So those are some things, and I'm not an insurance specialist. I just know about what happened when it comes to funerals. Is that a lot of people are disappointed because they think that they have enough, but they don't have enough. And so when you look at again the older population, and they still have those, and I think all the insurance, some of those companies have gone out of business. So you have this insurance with insurance man knock on the door. The insurance man is like a nightmare in my mind. It's okay, I'm sorry, but comes in and say the insurance man, and you've had that insurance, you experienced that. Still today, you experience that, and then all of a sudden you have a policy, a company that's gone out of business, but you still have the policy. What can a person do with that?
Well, if the company's gone out of business, then that's a different situation. But most insurance companies, um, the big insurance companies normally have bought those policies, and the insured is going to be notified, unless there's a change of address or something. But the insured, as long as if they're paying those premiums, the insured is going to be notified of the purchase of that company. Okay.
Mhm, mhm,
Sometimes some smaller family-run companies may go out of business,
mhm,
but a lot of times the bigger companies tend to buy those smaller companies because they want their client base and they can work out deals to get that done. Um, but if you think your insurance company's gone out of business, you probably want to
mhm,
contact
mhm.
um, the insurance agency for your state.
Okay. So how can people contact you? Give us some information in reference to you. Of all the things that we've gone through as the insurance man is knocking on the door, and you got this burial policy, and that's it. No life insurance because you weren't allowed to have a life insurance at that time. Up to today, how could they contact the person who's going to be honest with them, the person who's going to give them good information, and looking at our life history in reference to life insurance? How can they contact you?
Well, you can contact me at 202 744 4502. Again, 202 744 4502.
And you have like a website or email?
Yes, you can go to my website. My website is www.Herald Group, which is my last name, HEROLD, www.heraldgroupinc.com.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell, for being honest with us and a topic that we really need to talk about. So we hope to have you back again to just continue to talk about life insurance and the significance, the importance of having life insurance and purchasing the life insurance when you are young and healthy. So all the millennials out there, please, when you are young and healthy, but it's not over. You still can do it, but this is the best time.
Yes. I just want to say one thing, Reverend Sue. We have a portfolio of policies that pretty much we can insure even people with a lot of pre-existing conditions that don't think that they can get insured. I mean, we've been able to do that very successfully. So the best thing for folks to do is to give us a call and and discuss their needs with us.
Thank you so much. And we just excited that you had the opportunity to come talk to us today about African American and life insurance. May
Thank
God
you for
bless
having
you.
me.
Continue to be with you.
Thank you for having
Just
me.
take care of yourself. Take care of those two sons that you have as well. You've been listening to Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue. Please, on YouTube, go online and subscribe and like. We appreciate that. And continue to pray. And you know that God has some things for us to do. And we got to do those things. May God bless you.